Hi, ghouls, gals, and spooky pals. Welcome to the Monstration Club. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jen.
Yay! So we are here. We are here. We are here and we're doing a thing, uh,
Okay,
despite the world crumbling around us.
yes. Um, so I don't know what Emma has prepared for us today. So what are we going to be learning about?
Okay, so as you know, I recently went on a paranormal investigation.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my own experiences doing a paranormal investigation, as well as the history of paranormal investigations and the tools that they use to do paranormal investigations.
Right on. Okay.
Is this what you had been preparing for next week?
No, it's not. So this is great. No, this is great. I'm
Oh,
so
yay. Okay.
excited.
Okay. Have you ever like done any paranormal investigating?
I did I think I told you I went on that ghost tour in Quebec City.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a haunted, like old Quebec City ghost tour. And our guide took us around to like various places. I think there was a church. And then we went inside the church and like all the lights went off and like or blah, 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 blah. It was really fun. Um, and the tour guide was really into it, which I think really helped. But it
Uh-huh.
wasn't, I guess, an investigation thing. It was really just like a ghost tour where we just like
Okay.
we weren't looking for anything. It wasn't Ghostbusters-esque, which
Okay.
is what I'm imagining you doing in like the outfit and everything. So hope you don't disappoint.
Yes. We had like the equipment. We didn't have a ghost vacuum.
Hmm.
But we did have other equipment that I'm going to talk about. Did you feel like it was actually haunted, or did you feel like it was kind of just like a tourist trap?
No, I just thought it was fun. Like I
Okay.
don't even know that it was a tourist trap because my family went into it willingly because we wanted to do something at night that
Hmm.
night. And it was just like one of those like, oh, well, we'll get to see this church that like we could
Hmm.
see during the day, but we'll like go see it at night. And we'll get to walk through the streets with like a tour guide who knows Quebec really well. Because it was also
Hmm.
like they provided facts about Quebec City. A lot of them were
Oh,
like
cool.
morbid and dark, but it was also like, and this building was built in
Hmm.
1718 for the fur trappers and whatever. The fur trappers, the fur traders. Um, so I don't know. I wouldn't use the word tourist trap because I got so much enjoyment out of it. I feel no regret for having done it. But I definitely didn't feel like it was haunted, I guess. It was fun though. It
Okay.
was really
Okay.
fun.
Okay, I feel similarly. So we went to this like it's like a whole old historic mansion in the South. So obviously there's a lot of history. It was also the site of like there was a battle that happened
Mm.
there during the Civil War. So I just knew it was like ghost stories and stuff. I didn't realize it was going to be like actual paranormal investigating. So that was kind of a surprise, but kind of cool. And as they were talking about it, I was getting this like anticipation of like, oh my God, we've talked about I don't really believe in ghosts. You don't really believe in ghosts. I'm open to the possibility, but not
Yeah.
like a staunch believer. And I was like, this is the night I change my mind. Like, I'm going to have this experience and it is going to change me. And I left. So my partner and I both get in the car after I leave, right? We leave. And she's like so excited to start talking about how we just communicated with ghosts. And my reaction was like, I believe in ghosts less now than I did before. She was not happy with me. Um,
Oh, that seems about on par for the relationship also. But that's very funny to me.
yeah, yeah. So it was a lot of like,
Were
we
you
had
mean
this
about
like,
it?
no, I wasn't mean about it. I was just like, I
Okay,
just don't
okay,
believe. And
good.
she was like, you
Okay,
were
good.
like yelling and shouting. And I was like, yeah, because it was still fun. I just don't think it
Okay.
was ghosts.
Okay.
So, what we did is we like went in a group and um, they had their little equipment, which we'll talk about in a while. And then we go to different rooms and like try to see if we got any like signs of paranormal activity. So, as we were thinking about, is this real? Is this not real? I asked myself a question that I thought was very enlightening, and I want to ask you this. So,
Mm.
if there was a house that was a murder house, like murder, suicide, murder. violent death, would you live there? And why or why not?
Uh, do I know that it's a murder house?
Someone else said the same thing to me. I don't know. I'd go with
I
your
mean,
gut.
I would live there if I didn't know because I wouldn't know any better.
Okay. Okay. What if you
Um,
did know?
it would do, so I feel like when houses have like what like murdery circumstances, maybe this just happens in the movies, but I feel like they're cheaper. And buying a house as a millennial, something we can probably all relate to, isn't, the most feasible thing for a lot of us. So I think it would depend on the price, like how willing I am to sell myself to the ghosts for that. Um, I don't know though. It depends because I don't know. It wouldn't be my first choice, Emma.
Okay.
If I had a choice of murder house, not murder house, same exact circumstances, I'm gonna pick not murder house every time. So
Okay. I love that response. I also love the detail involved. Uh, and so
I'm
I
just
asked,
reasoning.
just reasoning, just logicking my way through. So I asked that because we were talking about, my partner and I were talking
Wait,
about, do we
you have to answer. Are
Okay,
you gonna
okay.
answer?
I will answer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason this came up is because I was like, I don't really believe in ghosts, but I know that I'm open to the possibility because I would not live in a murder house. Like I just wouldn't
Hmm.
do it. And I think that's because on some level I think it's possible. And so I feel like
Hmm.
that maybe shows that there's some openness because I do have friends like you included in this, but even other friends who would not care. Like they would not care. They'd be like, yeah, it's kind of creepy, but like what it was cheaper, so whatever. They don't believe in ghosts because they would
Hmm.
not care. Whereas I'm like, I don't think so, which makes me think that there's some openness. Like I feel like I'm just waiting for the right experience. Um, but I also think maybe they're not real. So
Yeah.
so kind of the history of ghost hunting, which we don't call them ghost hunts, we call them paranormal investigations now.
Hmm.
Is so
Are
the
we getting
first
quieter so they can't hear us, or what's going on here?
the ghosts are gonna come for us. I feel like the kid in The Sixth Sense. I see dead
See ghosts.
people. So the first ever recorded like ghost hunt investigation was in 61 to the guy that did it was Pliny the Younger. And they were born in 61 CE and lived until 113 CE. So this goes back, I know, a very long way.
Wow.
Yeah. That's surprising, right?
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but then in the medieval period, there are really no investigations because if you were investigating, you'd probably get convicted of witchcraft and be killed. So take a
Right.
little break there. But then it starts to emerge again in the Victorian era. So 1834 is the first like serious ghost hunt. It's the first time people are really like going out and hunting ghosts. And it was related to a bunch of people hearing bells in Major Edward Moore's Suffolk home. So he's hearing a bunch of
Hmm.
bells and then he's like, we got to investigate this. And then in 1862, we
Like
get our first,
Suffolk, Massachusetts.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So then in 1862, we get our first ghost club, which was basically a bunch of professionals who came together to like talk about ghosts and stuff. And Charles Dickens was one of them.
Really?
Yeah, is that so neat?
Yeah.
I could totally see myself joining a ghost club.
What a fun fact that is. No
I
one would
know.
believe you.
No one, not a single person, not a single
Yeah.
person. And then in 1882, we get the Society for Physical Research. I think it's physical research. And they're kind of starting to try to understand from a scientific lens. Then in the late 1800s, like 1893, and then into 1907, we get our first books about ghosts. Um, one is called Ghost World, and another one is called Haunted Houses.
So interestingly enough, so next week I'll have something different for you because this is what I
Uh-huh.
was looking into is like the history of ghost stories. You said whoever the younger, and I thought that sounded familiar, and then this is just very
Okay, wait, I
tangentially
want to hear
related.
more. You should still do that because this is like the only
Okay.
information I have about this. I don't go into more depth with this.
Well, maybe I'll do it
Um,
next week. Maybe I'll surprise you another time. We'll see.
I can't wait though. I
Okay.
can't wait. So then we get someone called Elliot O'Donnell, who was born in 1872, died in 1965, and he's the first like self-proclaimed ghost hunter. So if you
Okay.
consider yourself a paranormal investigator, thank Elliot O'Donnell. Then in 1926, they're actually trying to set this up in a more scientific way. So they create like seance rooms and try to use scientific gadgets, which we're going to talk about as like a huge part of the ghost hunting or paranormal investigation community. So then in the 2000s, it kind of starts skyrocketing because of media. And then we get
Hmm.
shows like Ghost Hunters and things like that, which the place I went was on an episode of Ghost Hunters,
Really
interestingly.
cool.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So it was on an episode of Ghost Hunters. And in a 2021 poll, out of 1,000 Americans, which is such a small sample size, 41% said they believe in ghosts.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And 21% said they had an experience with one.
Does that fall? Is that 21% of that 41, I'm guessing?
Yes, I'm
Because,
guessing
okay.
so. Yeah, I don't think
Do you
it's
know,
60.
not to be like that person, do you know who was polled by any chance?
No, but I'm
Okay.
I'm also very like, who are these 1,000 people? Right.
Yeah.
I want to know that. That's such a small sample. That's such a small sample.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that apparently based on those numbers, though, we could expect there to be 50 million spirit encounters. I think that's per year, but I'm not positive because math isn't
Wow.
okay. But that's a lot of encounters, right?
Yes.
So one of the things one of the things that's interesting, and I'm already running out of, I'm gonna have to talk about ghost hunting equipment next time, I think.
Really? Are we out of time?
We have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So we'll just talk about this and then we'll talk about ghost hunting equipment another time. Or maybe I'll briefly talk about it. So maybe I'll stop wasting our time talking about what I'm gonna talk about. So
Get to the equipment.
get to okay. So here's the types of equipment that ghost hunters use, and then I'll talk a little bit about my experience in the house. So
Cool.
there's different categories of equipment. So one type of equipment basically measures electromagnetic waves. So the way that they're used, they're devices that pick up the frequency and strength of electromagnetic waves or fields. And there's different versions of this. Some of them are like really, really sensitive, others aren't. But what's interesting is a lot of these are used in by like electricians and things like that. Like they're used for safety purposes because they're measuring, um, yeah, electromagnetic waves,
Yeah.
which is
Okay.
very interesting. So we have electromagnetic field detectors, electromagnetic field meters, and then Gauss meters, which are the most sensitive, and they're often used for like safety standards and things like that. So then in addition to the electromagnetic waves, we also have things that measure sound. So the sound ones, there are things called spirit boxes, and these essentially scan like AM, FM waves to try to, because it's thought that the spirits can like either manipulate the waves or they can like talk through the radio waves. And then in addition to spirit boxes, there are these things called EVPs, which are electronic voice phenomenon records, and they capture unexplained sounds. I think they're just like super, super sensitive microphones that can capture sounds that may be unheard regularly. So there's also some apps one of them's called GhostTube, which does a lot of different things. One of the ones it does capture like the EVP, so the sounds from ghosts. And then another one is called necrophonics. And necrophonics is what they used when we were there. And so what it is, they had it on reverb. So everything that was us talking came in backwards, but anything that was a ghost talking came in forward. So, yeah, so the huge issue with this, right? Like, do you see the issue with all of this equipment?
Yeah, it's seems very untested. I don't know if there's a whole lot of validity or reliability there.
Yeah, it's a bunch of like it's like me bringing a stethoscope somewhere and being like, this is an expl like I am not trained to use a stethoscope. Also, there's no reliability, right?
Yeah.
So my experience doing the paranormal investigating,
Did you get any like did the equipment like do
yes,
something at
yes, so
all?
it
Okay,
did. It
okay,
did.
okay.
And I have a video on our channel that I'll link, like a short of one of them going off. But the thing that as as a psychologist and like a researcher scientist, that was interesting about it and challenging is that a lot of it felt like a thing going off, and then people being like, that's a ghost. They're talking to us. And there's a lot of like, one woman was like, it's so cold over here. That means there is a ghost. And everyone next to her is like, it is cold over here. This side of me is cold and this side of me isn't. And it felt like a lot of people that want to believe that experience sensory changes or other unexplained phenomena and then say ghost. And are like,
Confirmation bias.
confirmation bias. That's what all of it felt like. And
Okay.
as a researcher, I was like, it is a little cold in here, but this is a drafty room that was built like over 100 years ago. So like, I'm not sure if that's a ghost or poor ventilation. You know?
I do know. Yeah.
So the closest ghostly experience I had, and I know we just have a few minutes left, but the closest ghostly experience I had is there was a giant sigh, and the woman next to me was like, "Did anyone make that sigh?" And I was like, "No, you made that sigh." And she's like, "No, I didn't." So maybe that was a ghost, or maybe it was like the people above us
It was
sighing.
like a like that.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
And it did sound like it came from nearby, but I'm also not convinced it couldn't have been the people above us. So
Or
if
the drafty room.
or the
Wind.
drafty room. Yeah. So I think that's the hard thing is like anything that's unexplained could be a ghost or it could be anything else,
If I
right?
was a ghost, I don't know that I would want to approach a large group. I think it would be much better to just like come one up to one on one. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd
Mm-hmm.
avoid a crowd. Maybe it's the introvert in me,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know that that would
Yeah.
attract me as a ghost.
I also don't think if I was a ghost, like giving someone a show would be enticing to me.
Hmm. No.
Yeah. Which our our investigator did say, like, are you having trouble crossing the barrier? And then they flickered the thing. And then she's like, do you need our help crossing the barrier? And they flickered it. And then she was like, uh, and then just started asking other questions again.
Like I'm not trained for this.
I'm not, that's exactly how it felt. It felt like she was like, I'm not trained for this. Oh shit. So
That's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah. I was
That
like,
that's creepy though, you know?
it is.
Encounter-esque.
The woman next to us said that she's gone on like over 100 of these, and she came from an asylum recently, which I don't think I would do. But I might actually do it now because I think I don't believe in ghosts anymore. So I'm like, maybe I would go to an asylum.
But you wouldn't live in a murder house, so do you believe or do you not
I
believe in ghosts?
know. I
So
know. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So I guess in conclusion, do you believe in ghosts more or less now after
After
this
hearing
talk?
you, um, about the same. I mean, had you come in and said, I really believe in ghosts, I don't know that you
Hmm.
also would have swayed my meter a whole lot. I think I would have to
Hmm.
experience it. I'm a little less open to it now because I think we're very aligned. on how we
Hmm.
feel about
Hmm.
ghosts. So maybe I'm a little less open to it, but I'm still like, if you want to believe that, that's fine. That's cool. Maybe
Hmm.
they are there. But you believe in them less.
I believe in them less. But I do think at some we're gonna have to go on some paranormal investigations together on this channel, and then we will share our experiences because yeah, it's been very interesting. But if folks out there do have had experiences, please share them because maybe you could help sway us.
Yes,
Or if you
always.
also don't believe in ghosts, you can tell us that too.
Yeah. And why?
And why? Yeah, we just want to know. I just want some hard facts. Well, thank y'all for joining us. Please leave a comment if you have experienced ghosts. If you don't think they're real, we want to know.
Stay spooky.